Well, the Syrian civil defense is describing what they call a massacre that took place in this village merely 25 kilometers away from the Turkish border. According to independent watchdog groups, they believe that these airstrikes were likely conducted by a Russian aircraft, Russian warplanes, in a series of 8 successive airstrikes. Well over 30 people were killed, around 80 were injured. Whole buildings were just leveled, and rescue workers are still digging through the rubble looking for survivors. What we do know is that this airstrike is the first airstrike to happen in this area in the northwest province of Idlib since March, and since Turkey, Russia, and Iran agreed to de-escalation zones in this area, where the Turkish military would establish observation posts around the province of Idlib, and so would the Russians. So the timing of this airstrike, if it is indeed Russian warplanes, is raising many questions on whether or not these de-escalation zones can indeed end the violence. And we have these airstrikes are just absolutely destructive, and the rescue workers, the first responders, also lost many of their own as due to a double tap, a common tactic used by Assad regime and Russian warplanes, where they target first responders and people that have gathered at the initial site of the attack. So some really horrific images coming out of Idlib and this village this morning due to this airstrike.
What do you make of the significance of the strike? Because could it be seen as possibly a tactic by the regime and its ally in Moscow that bring these rebels from other parts of Syria, take them to Idlib, and then strike them there and destroy all rebels?
Well, that's a very good point. The province of Idlib has well over 2 million civilians that have been cramped into the city of Idlib and into the province, as tens of thousands of civilians from across Syria have been forcibly relocated by the Assad regime and his allied forces into the province of Idlib. This, of course, makes them much easier to target. And as again, these type of airstrikes haven't been seen in Idlib for months due to the Astana agreements and the de-escalation zone agreements. So the fact that this type of airstrike, which typically had happened on a regular basis in Idlib, targeting civilian centers and civilian buildings, the fact that it is happening yet again is raising many questions on whether or not the de-escalation zone agreement is indeed in effect, and whether or not it is sustainable. But again, as always, it is the civilians, the Syrian civilians, that are the ones that are suffering, as these airstrikes are taking a very heavy toll against the Syrian people.